Australia's defence industry will see a boost from the signing of AUKUS legislation in the US, but there's a new report prompted by the partnership suggesting Australia needs to rethink to maximise its defence industry participation. Joining me live, Willox, Chief Executive of AI Group, one of the report authors. Thanks for your time. I mean, so much of AUKUS, we usually say submarines and sort of how much will we build, but so many different things we do in so many different parts of this industry. What are we doing wrong right now in your view?
Well, we're doing a lot right, but we could do a lot better, would be how I'd put it. We've got to think about speed, scale and surge. They're the three S's we need to think about. And what we haven't done properly to develop that speed and that surge capability to build things when we really need it is to really embed defence industry into our national industrial base. We think of it now too much as a silo. Defence industry, it's separate from the rest of industry. We've had a look at other countries and how they do it. They don't all do it perfectly. We looked at France, Israel, the UK, Canada and Sweden, and they all do it in different ways. But the one key thread is that their defence industry is part of their national industrial base. And that's how we need to think of things. And that's why we've suggested as one of the key takeouts of this report, one of the key recommendations is that we have a defence czar, if you like, but somebody who can pull together the threads between defence and industry, who knows both and can get both to work together better than we do now. That's where we're falling down at the moment.
We're not quick enough, wasn't it? The Defence Industry Minister within Cabinet around the submarines. Is it a different role to that? When you say czar, it's not a politician.
It's not a politician. It's somebody who really knows industry and really knows the defence sector as well. And somebody has those skills to talk across the two and then talk to government about what we're capable of, why we need to do it and how we can do it. That's what's missing at the moment. Defence and industry more broadly talk past each other too often.
One of its key characteristics is it's a lot of government money but pulling together a lot of private investment. Now, we want two things out of that. We want as much Australian involvement as possible. It's a sovereignty thing, but it's an economy thing as well. But we want value for money. Some projects, it seems to be, defence money goes to die. I mean, it's incredible, some of them. Managing those two, is that the tricky part? Is it sometimes not worrying about doing everything? Sometimes we go, no, it's okay to send that overseas. Let's do more of this.
Tom, we can't do everything, and nor should we think that we can do everything here. But what we do, we need to be able to do well. 70-80% of defence spending is on the sustainment, keeping things running, keeping things operating.
That's a massive amount, isn't it?
That's a lot, and that's where we need a lot of that capability. And we need to think in those terms. How do we keep it? How do we keep things going? And how do we pitch ahead? So often too, Tom, we're looking at the high-tech industries and skills we need, but we also need for defence things like boiler makers and welders and things like that.
It sounds like
how do we integrate the two?
It's needed, and they're getting more modern, these jobs too, aren't they?
Well, they're getting more modern, but the concept itself is a little bit old-fashioned, I'll admit that. But that's where we've got to. We need to think a little bit back to the future. Is it a bit
parochial on states? It seems to be, at least at a headline sense, every new project is sort of WA's getting this percent and South Australia's getting this and New South Wales wants this.
Defence is very political, you know that, Tom. And
spend a few billion here, you'll keep your seat, or you'll get the seat, or whatever it might be.
You're so cynical, Tom. But that's how we have to think beyond that in a national sense as well.
And when you say think beyond that, can that happen better from a so-called czar, independent from government, rather than the old Defence Industry Minister who's still in Cabinet, who's still getting lobbied relentlessly by backbenchers? Is that where the czar role is like, look, bugger the politics, here's what you need to do?
That's exactly it. A Defence Minister is pulling together the threads, taking it to Cabinet, getting Cabinet approval. That's a Defence or a Defence Industry Minister's role. A Defence czar's role, I hate to use that term, but that's the best we could think of because it's what it is to understand the capability of what we have, what we need and how we can best deliver it and get both industry and defence talking and working together.
Just briefly on emissions targets, the states, the union's actually pushing for the federal government to go a bit higher. It says, well, look, the states are going higher and there needs to be something that reflects that. What do you make of the federal government's reaction? It seems to be more along the lines of, we'll figure out what's possible and make sure we hit that target. Are states going too high? Is it a bit of a ideological scramble here? What's going on?
Tom, we've been to this dance before. You may remember the renewable energy target back in the early 2010s and thereabouts, where the states tried to play a game of leapfrog to get ahead of each other in setting targets. It's the worst possible outcome is states sort of setting unilateral targets in a game of one-upmanship.
Okay.
We need coordinated national action. We can't have states jumping ahead of each other. Not great for investment, not great for policy making.
Ines Willox, got to leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.